Hey, what's up, everybody? Let's talk about crypto. It is Monday. It is a brand new week. So let's see how this week plays out. But look at the weekly close. If we look at the weekly close, we did not close above our low here. We closed above it. So that's very important. That's a good sign. Another reason that I think we're looking pretty good here is because if you notice, we came all the way down to the 702 here, right? So let's zoom in a little bit and you can see, right, this whole wave up was in a retrace and we came all the way down right at the 702. So, is it finished? It could very well be finished. If not, then you have another one a little bit lower here, and we'll talk about that very soon. But essentially, that would just be up to Bitcoin if it wants to have a little bit more downside. And again, we'll jump into it. But what I want to emphasize here is the wave structure, right? It's very wavy, which is meaning it's very corrective, right? So this to me is correcting to the downside. You can see we have all of this support down in here. So you would expect it to hold and for us to get some kind of bounce. Now, depending if that bounce is sustainable, we're going to find out, right? Because if it's not, then you would get like three waves and then kind of volatility would slow down and then you would kind of roll over, kind of like in a descending triangle, right? This obviously would be the super bearish idea. And but I don't think we're going to break down now. I think it would hold, pull up, and then break down later on, right? So we're going to find out soon enough if that's the case. But what do we want to see here? We don't want to see, like a three wave move up, right? And then something like that. We don't want to see that. What we do want to see though is kind of like, let's build a little base in here. Let's get some divergence, hit the low again, right? And then work your way back up. And basically you're cupping into the resistance, right? And then once you get back up here, you want to kind of flag out or cup back into the resistance, and then you would essentially kind of have like a inversed or whatever. So but yeah, if we look closely here at let's go to the 4-day. I think we are coming up on a 9. So this is a good thing, right? So in 2 days, we're going to get a 9. So let's see if that 9 has any meaning, because on SHIB, we already have the 9, which is really, really cool, right? So with SHIB, we have 5 waves now. So this is an A, B, C, right? And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the same wave, right? So that's why I think it's done. I think it's finished. I think what we saw, you see this right here? Boom, boom. That's the same thing as boom and boom. You take the low, right? So you have 1, 2, all the way down, 1, 2, all the way down, right? So this is what's happening. And then not only that, but again, you have a 9, right? You had this 3-wave move up, you had a 9 sell, right? And then you came all the way back down. Now you're on a 9 buy, right? So, and I haven't really talked about TD sequential too much, but this is what it is. It's an indicator that lets you know when we're getting exhausted. There's a good example here, right? You want to use it with Elliott wave, but essentially you come down, you get a 9, you print these little red dots, right? And then once you break those red dots, it sort of activates the trade, right? Now, it doesn't always work out the way you think it's going to work out. That's because you got to also use it with Elliott wave, right? So if you have a 9 in the middle of the of a third wave. It's not as good as having a 9 at the end of the fifth wave. Like, look at this. This is the daily chart here, right? We came all the way up. We had a 9, but then we had a 3-wave pullback. We broke above the red dots. We exploded all the way up here. And look at that. We perfectly landed right on a 9 cell, printed all of these red dots, and you can see we wick above, wick above, wick above, you know, and it just couldn't sustain. So that 9 did its job. And there's many, many examples of that. Now, for example, this 9 over here was not a really good 9, but you can see when we had it, we kind of flagged, we corrected to the upside, and then it continued down. So is it a reversal 9? Is it a sort of a correction 9? You know, so there's different ones that pop up. So it's up to you to interpret it the right way. So to me, this 9 on the daily is coming at the end of this fifth wave. And then also, if we look at, I think we have another 9 too. That's the 3-day, the 4-day. Yeah, so we have a 4-day 9. And it's going to close in about 2 days. And we can see that we have really, really good bullish divergence in here. Boom, boom. So yeah, it's looking pretty good in my opinion. Because what was the alternative, right? The alternative was that the fifth wave was complete, right? So we have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5. Right? That was the old way of looking at it. And this boom, boom was this boom, boom here. Right? But what happened? What happened? Well, this was A, B, C. So basically this move right here was a flat. And the fourth wave turned into an expanded flat. And that happens a lot. Right? And then you come down and set the fifth wave. So it just wasn't it was a complex fourth wave. So now we know exactly what it is. So there's no question about it now, right? So now it narrows it down to 2 ideas. And what are those 2 ideas? One of them is, well, the bearish one would be that this is a 1, 2, 1, and now we're going to get 2 and then continue down. Right? But we'll identify that because it'll look corrective. The other idea is that we have, you have an A, a B, and a C, right? So this could be like a 1, 2, a 1, 2, and another 1 and another 2 here, right? Or better yet, a flat. So you have 3 waves up, you have 3 waves down. And then you would expect 5 waves back up. And what that would do is make 1, 2, and 3, right? So that's kind of what we're waiting for. You basically came all the way down, right? You made a low, you popped all the way up, and then you corrected all the way down. So what's next? Right? The next move would be back up. So it could complete that 3-wave shape. So that's exactly what I'm thinking here. And I think the low could be very, 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 very close. So let me check on the smaller time frame. So zooming in here, you know it's a flat, right? Because look, you had 3 waves up, you had 3 waves down, and then you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up. So we looked at this as a diagonal, but you don't really want a diag because it could be a corrective wave, and it was, right? So this was A, B, C. So that was wave 4. And now we know, guys, we know that this is our wave 5. So once this wave 5 is done, this is it, right? I know it feels like, man, it just feels like every wave we're getting hit. But you know what? There was a really good chance that it could have ended here. And it basically could have, right? And this could just be a double bottom, right? But the fact that it already took the low is actually a good thing. Why? Because then it basically cancels out all the other ideas and narrows it down, because that's what it's all about, is ruling out what it's not. So if we look close, we can see just about 5 waves. You have 1, 2, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's wave 3, and then you have 4, and then it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe we get one more down for a wave 5 here, and then there we go. So I do like that 12-hour wick. You could see right here we had a 12-hour wick there, and it penetrated below the low right there. So is this your liquidity grab? It very well could be. I mean, you can see this big engulfing candle. We haven't had an engulfing candle like that since, you know, kind of back over here in this correction. So we should at least expect, you know, you can see this was a flat right there, right? So flats can kind of do that, right? They're shenanigans, trickery. Yeah, let's see how it continues to play out. Now, if this is like a cup, you're cupping down, right? And if you get another cup, then I would actually say, you know, if we move it like this, upside down, is this turning into like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A, right? And then it's gonna be some kind of B wave in here, and then you get C, right? Before more downside. I mean, that could also happen, right? The chart is inverted just so you can see it like that. But let's circle back. Let's take a look at XRP versus Bitcoin. I like it here because of this right here. You see that little base? And then you can see we broke the low. There's a lot of examples of this happening. For example, you can see that happening right here with Bitcoin, right? You came all the way down, it looked like it bottomed, but then you create a little base and then you hit the low. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right here. It's essentially kind of the same, you know, the same style move, right? You have an AB that took the high, AB, right? And then you kind of boom, 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 and then all the way down, right? All the way down. And then you have this little box right in here. And then you tag the low, you tag the low, you quickly come reverse, play around a little bit, and then continue higher. So this should be in the realm of the bottoming process. So if we look at just this third wave here, from the bottom to the top, back to the bottom, you could see, let's take a percentage from where we are up to the 1-to-1. That's 136%, all the way up to the 2618 at 400%, and up to, so I would say between, you know, anywhere between 100 and 600%. So you go back to XRP here, if it's in the same spot, go up 400%. That gets you right in the same spot, you know, around that $10 level. So the confluence is there for that move to occur. So this is just, you know, you could say, oh, it's taking a while. Well, remember, look how much time. It actually isn't taking a lot of time at all relative to how much time it's taken before. So for example, you could see all of this time in here, right? So if you look at, let me just take everything off if you just look at the top, you'll see what I mean right here. There's no price history, right? There's hardly any basically of what they call a volume profile, right? So there's not a lot of trading that goes on at these levels between what is that, between $2 and say 350, right? There's not a lot of trading. You can see XRP spiked it once, and then after that it never did it again. It barely touched it right here, but that was it, right? And now we finally have 1, 2, 3 waves up, and you can see we're chopping, chopping, chopping. So the price is getting used to this yellow zone, right? Because it's never experienced it like it has experienced it now. We've spent more time above $2 than any time in XRP's history, right? So it's what it's doing is it's testing the waters. It's feeling how it feels, right? It's making people get used to the new price, right? Because, everybody was so used to these low prices for years, right? And now finally XRP is back. It's doing very well above that $2 level, but right, it's getting stuck here. You can say, well, why is it getting stuck? Again, because it's testing these waters in here before hopefully we break to the upside, which I believe we will. So the reason why is because you can kind of see, right? You got 3, you got 3, you got 3, you got 3, and you got 3. A, B, C, D, E. There's a perfect triangle right there, right? Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout, same thing over here. Rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout, right? So it's basically the same thing. Another reason too is you have a W. You're cupping, here's your resistance. You're cupping into the resistance. You're cupping into the resistance. And now you're kind of, you're at a dangerous spot because you're getting rejected in here, but you're correcting, which is good. So now it's kind of just up to Bitcoin for it to take it home. So if we look, let's take a look at Bitcoin real quick. So remember, we're talking about Bitcoin getting this correction here, right? You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waves. You had 5 waves here, right? And then you have A, B, C. So it's like a perfect setup, really. The question is it finished? And if it is it going to be more complex than it is? For example, you get 3 down. This could get 3 up, and then you can get 3 back down, and then it goes up, and it becomes a bigger 3-wave move. Not saying that's going to happen, but it is. We are approaching summertime, so it appears that it's finished, right? Remember, we talked about this just yesterday. Where we got here, our trend-based fib extension here. So from the top to the bottom, back to the top, you could see we perfectly nailed the 1-to-1 extension, exactly what we talked about yesterday and I believe the day before too. So we hit it. So now it's all about, okay, this wave. Well, let me take a trend line here. If you take this wave there and put it right here, it should be about the same size. And look at that. It's a little longer, which is even better, right? So we could be done, right? This could be, again, 3 waves down. You have 3 waves up, and you have 3 waves back down. And you can see this wave here, 1, 2, 3. The question I have, though, is it going to be 4 and 5? That's kind of the unknown. And what I would say is, well, it depends how it corrects, right? It looks actually pretty bullish right in here. Let's see. it looks bullish. It looks like you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. So 1, 2, or A and B, and now we're going up for maybe a C wave. So A, B, C, or a third wave. So I would like it to actually come back down and kind of build a base in here. You know, if we can kind of flag out a little bit, build a little base, and then start breaking the high. You know, you want to get away from the scene of the crime, right? So, but other than that, you know, it looks pretty good. Now we could take another extension, trend-based fib extension from here to here to there, and look at that. We perfectly hit the 1.414. So there's definitely reason to say, okay, yeah, you know, it could be a low. It could be a low here, or we have to go lower. And well, before I talk about that, look at this. We also hit this spot right here, boom and boom, just about. I mean, maybe we missed it by a hair, but it would make sense if this kind of drizzled back down, right, and kind of did something like that. That would be kind of cool. Otherwise, you know, we could just be impulsing from here, right? It could be finished. So, you know, you had this stuff with Iran. I think, you know, look, this is all a show, in my opinion. This has been planned for years and years and years. This operation, you think this operation just happened all of a sudden? No, this took years of planning to do something this sophisticated. I mean, you could just go back to 2018 over here. U.S. Air Force orders more 30,000-pound. Gee, I wonder why they ordered more back in 2018 when Trump was president, right? Because this was all planned from long ago. So we're just seeing the final stages play out. This is all Sun Tzu, Art of War. Fascinating things. And you go back to that same that same thing. Somebody posted this on the 8chan boards, but I just thought it was kind of funny. Watch Iran. You know, I get people sending me this stuff, and you know, it's all conspiracy, whatever. But it's kind of funny to see it playing out, right? Anyways, Iran had it coming. You know, it's not Iran itself, it's the deep state within Iran. Just like how you have a deep state within kind of like North Korea, right? You don't see North Korea acting up like they used to, right? So, you know, there's certain things that we don't even know about. Like, for, you know, there's operations going on right now that we have no clue that are even existed. So they go, oh, there's no U.S. boots on the ground in Iran. You don't know that. You know, there could be some black ops special force group on the ground right now, and we have no clue, right? So, but yeah, Iran is the leading state sponsor of terrorism. They're responsible for everything, everything. And the reason, you know, back in the Iraq War, Afghanistan, we never, you know, we never messed with Iran. It was their proxies across, you know, their neighbors, right? So Iran didn't want the U.S. getting into war with them when they hate Iran. They chant death to America, death to Israel, right? All the time. That's their whole goal, is to wipe out the Western Christian Jew world, right? So, you know, Iran's been the big bad player in the Middle East the whole time. And we finally have a president that actually took out their facility. So we'll see how it plays out from here. Obviously, you know, this is Israel's weakening their military, and I'm not saying Israel's a perfect saint in all of this. At the end of the day, you know, it's all about peace, right? And the only way you have peace is through strength, and the only way that happens, if you got to show them who's boss, really, you know. So Iran got the message very loud and clear. Now, if they retaliate, it's just going to be a sad situation for them. So, you know, this is not about regime change. It's about just having their capabilities wiped out. So in 15, 20, 30, 40 years from now, we're not going to look back and say, oh, we should have just took him out. Yeah, well, because when Trump, you know, they were prepping us, right? It's not, you know, think back, just a week ago, think back just 4 or 5 days ago, they were talking about this mission being carried out. They were prepping the public of what's about to happen, right? So it's all psychological programming. You know, they kind of programmed it, and now that it happened, people expected it to happen, right? But Iran did not expect it to happen, because we did not know what conversations on the phone they were having with Iran. So Trump would be like, yo, you have 2 weeks. And Iran's like, okay, we have 2 weeks. That gives us plenty of time. And then 2 days later, boom, you're gone. So, and I like the decoys too. They sent 2 decoys, right? So that's pretty cool. But anyways, the whole point of why I'm talking about this is what comes after, right? Because it's all narrative, right? We just had a big strike with Iran, and you had a little bit of a dip, but Bitcoin still looks super, super bullish. And remember, crypto thrives under problems, you know, situations like this, right? This is what crypto was born to do, was to thrive under situations like these. Now, you could have the price of oil go up, right? The issue that I see is Iran and its oil supply. So, you know, that's going to be a big deal. That's probably one of the biggest deals, right? Because Iran has a lot of oil. So we'll see how all that plays out. But again, the reason I'm talking about this is, how does this influence the price of crypto as a net result? Not necessarily what happens the day of or the day after, but the weeks and months to come following what we just saw and what could come next. We know that Iran launched some missiles towards Qatar, you know, so I think they're evacuated, so I don't think anything was hit really. So more on that later. We'll see how that plays. But anyways, crypto Bitcoin right now is in a perfect spot. Again, look at the shape. It's got a perfect shape. It's got a 1-to-1. It's perfect, right? And then also is, you know, this right here, when we came up in this wave, that was the end of the impulse, right? That's important, because we're back testing. You say, oh no, we're not back testing. We already screwed the back test. Here's the top right here, and we came up and we missed it, and now no. Well, if you look, this is actually the top right here, right? And this move down and this move up is a correction, right? You see how it corrected up, corrected down, corrected back up. So this line right at 99.775 is the top of this wave, right? So we broke above the top, and now we have an ABC back down to the bottom. See, what happened was this high, this peak, and this peak screwed everybody up, right? Because if you pretend that this was not here and we topped here, came down, and we broke out, and now we have a 3-wave move back, that looks really, really, really bullish, right? Because we broke out and we're back testing the very top, right? But since the market makers, that's what they do, they confuse people. They did this on purpose. They brought it above the high to make it appear like that was the high, but it's not. Remember, this is a correction. It corrects to the high, just like back over here, right? This was the top of Bitcoin. But this, people say, no, that's the top. Well, no, that's a correction. You can see it's a three-wave move, right? Now, you could argue and say, oh, yeah, it's 5, but that's another debate. But, yeah, everything looks pretty good here for the price of Bitcoin. So, yeah, let's keep looking here. So, I don't think we looked at Theta yet. Here we go. Yeah, we still have the big, beautiful bill. We still have the stable coin, crypto. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. XRP ETF. I mean, there's still so many things to look forward to that this war is just kind of getting in the way. But I think it's going to blow over. And we're not going to have a war with Iran. This is it, right? This is all about taking out their capabilities. You know, it's not, nobody wants a war with Iran, right? Nobody wants to send troops in there, and hell no, we're not going through that again. Hell no. I just hate seeing people dying. You know, it doesn't matter if you're from Israel, Iran, you know, it's the leaders, right? Those evil leaders like Soleimani, all those guys. They need to be taken out, right? So, and I'm glad they did. But yeah, Theta. I mean, what can you say, man? It looks pretty, you know, you can say, "Oh, it's sad because, you know, we broke the low," but it's actually a good thing. Why? You can say, "Why is it a good thing that we came low?" Because now it formed a fifth wave. And now we know for sure that that has to be it, right? It has to be it. Because you have 1, 2, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you have 4, and then 5. So 1, 2, all of that's 3, 4, and now 5. That's exactly what you want, right? Now, could it have been over here, right? Yes, it could have. It could have been, you could have counted it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's the way I've been counting it, right? Because we didn't have this extra price data, but now that we see it, we can adjust it. So you can say, yeah, it could be a flat 1, 2, 3, and then there's your 4, and there's your 5. So because what we have here is nothing more than an A, B, and C. And if we take our, here we go, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're basically just about there. You know, the part that kind of sucks though is you're like super close to support, which kind of is a good thing because you can, you know, you would expect it to hold for a little while, but then it just doesn't have that nice look to it, right? So this is the whole chart right here. So our zone is definitely being respected right in here. So this turned out to be a good buying opportunity. This turned out to be a good buying opportunity. My question is, will this turn out to be a good buying opportunity? Because we're all on support here. And I would probably say yes, right? Obviously, it's not financial advice. I could be totally wrong. And this thing can keep crashing and crashing and crashing, right? But I can't assume that. I have to assume we're not going to crash. We're going to actually reverse. Why? Because we've been going down for how long? Well, let's take a look. Here was the peak right over here back in November. We've been going down all November, all December, all January, all February, March, April, May, June. I mean, come on. How many months are we going to go down, 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 down? At some point, it's going to stop. And at some point, waves go up, waves go down, waves go up, waves go down. What comes next? We should go back up, right? especially now since we've been going down for quite a long time, all the way back in November. So what, like over almost 6 months, half a year we've been going down. So yeah, I think this thing is just about finished. Now let's zoom in and look a lot closer. So if we look here, you know, there's no evidence that the low is in. I really do like though this little base right in here, and you have that little wick there. That could have been the low because you know we got capitulation here. But you do have 1, 2. It looks like 3, 4, and 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? But it could also be 3. So we just, you know, you have to track it, and you're not going to nail the bottom, but you can at least nail the vicinity of the bottom in for dollar cost averaging purposes, right? So the only thing I don't like about it is how short the third wave is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I just, because it kind of, I don't like it because it could possibly be a 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is 3, and then you get 4, and then 5, 4, 5, something like that, where you get an extended wave down. Hopefully that's not the case. So the way we'll know is, you know, look at this level right in here. So if we come up, play around, and then we break out of that area, chances are that was the low. But if we come up here and we get rejected and we continue coming down, and we do so in 3 waves, and it looks like you probably have a little bit more down to go. So, but ultimately here, let's look at this 2-week chart here. Seeing if you had any divergence. We should have it on the weekly. Yeah, so we do have weekly bullish divergence. I mean, you can't get any better than that, right? Boom, boom. So that's between the 3rd and the 5th wave. So that's typically where you would get the divergence, between the 3rd and the 5th, and that's what we got. So this should be it right here. Now, real quick again, when we zoom back in, I would look for, let me see here, if I go zoom out a little bit more. If we did have any liquidations, I would look right about there. Okay, now we can zoom in. So basically those 2 lines are kind of the last support levels, and you can see that's kind of where we came to. So that could have been it right there, 56 cents. So yeah, let's see if it holds. We're just not going to know. So Theta Fuel, let's check out Theta Fuel here. So Theta Fuel did not take the low like Theta did, but Theta Fuel did take the low over here. Theta Fuel has more inflation than Theta, right? And I don't think it's going to perform better than Theta until you have like Theta actually breaking out and people actually, you know, burning more Theta Fuel, basically using it more, right? So, but yeah, you can see we have 3 waves up, we have 3 waves down, and you would then want either 3 or 5 waves up. 3, 3, 5. And that's still the main idea. The main idea is still very much intact. So you can even come down a little bit lower because we still haven't taken that low yet. So if Theta Fuel comes down a little bit lower, we'd still get that bullish divergence, which is really, really good. So yeah, nothing too much other than what we talked about yesterday. Trump, the meme, I think it's getting close as well. I think it looks pretty good. You know, you kind of have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, you got 3. There's B, 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, and 5 down for C. So we're getting close. But yeah, I'd like to see a little base get formed in here to show some support coming in. ICP, it's not my favorite looking chart. Ethereum, again, expanded flat. Ethereum looks good here. You got 3 down, you got 3 up, you got 3 back down. So now let's go. I mean, that's kind of how I'm thinking of it. I think, and I think Ethereum is the big key here, right? Because there's Ethereum looks completely different than everything else, and Ethereum looks finished. It looks completely finished. If we take a trend-based fib extension and we look at this, you can see we went beyond the 1618. So I think this sucker is done, and you can see we're starting to pump here quite nicely. So you know, do we have like a shoulder, a head, and a shoulder playing out in here? Could be. I don't like it completely. I'd like to see this be like A, B, and C, kind of like a flat, and then kind of go up. But we could just be pumping already. So it's kind of difficult on the smaller time frames. Now, the other one is we have 1, 2, right? This is 3, this is 4, and this is 5. So there is a chance that we will have another low on the smaller time frames. ADA looks pretty decent here. So total 3. Total 3's got a nice pump. You know, is that like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? I don't like it because I think the third wave cannot be the shortest wave. And I think it is. Yeah, see, it cannot be a 1, 2. So it could be, you know, a 1, 2, and then you have, yeah, see, that wouldn't work either because you already took out the 2. So then you would say 1, 2, 3. So 3 up, and then you have kind of like 3, 3, and then 3 down, right? So 3 back down. So yeah, I like that one here. So yeah, 3 down, 3 up, and then 3 back down. So WXY could be finished now. So looks pretty decent here. H bar is pumping here. You just don't want to get suckered into these rallies, you know, because by the time you see it, it already pumped. You buy it, it comes back down. You know, it kind of is a vicious cycle. So, but it does look pretty good right here. So yeah, I think there's really nothing else to say except for let's see how it all plays out. Here's algo. Let me see algo here. So yeah, you kind of have this little double bottom in here, right? So yeah, I want to see supports come in, and again, since we had that strike, you would have thought that we would have completely capitulated, but we haven't even taken the low yet. So it's kind of like dragging its feet a little bit here. I'm just kind of playing around and seeing, looking at AVAX. AVAX looks okay. Axelar. yeah, you could see that three-wave move, total rejection. Render looks bearish. I mean, I like the three-wave move here, but then this, I just don't really, you know, if we come back up here, some kind of Wyckoff, I guess after that it would be more pleasing on the eye. But right now it looks a little bit sketchy because you kind of want to see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. You just want to just hurry up and rip the band-aid off and get that fifth wave, Let's go. Kind of like Axie here. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You took the low and you finally had it, right? So if we look at, and then you also have major bullish divergence. Look at that. So, and then you you're coming up on a 9 too soon. If I can get rid of that, there we go. 8. So yeah, you're about to get a 9. So a 9 with bullish divergence between the 3rd and the 5th. I mean, that's the spot where typically people want to take chances. XLM. I'm just kind of rapid fire here. XLM's already on a 9, right? So is this kind of like a 1 and a 2? A, B, C, 1, 2. Are we going up for 3 soon? Very well could be. IMX looks kind of terrible. Ave. Yeah, is this an A, B, C? Hopefully not. VeChain. A lot of them look kind of sad and pathetic. There's only a few of them that look actually okay. XDC is looking okay. You got kind of more of a three-wave shape here. Let's get rid of that. Is that like A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down for C? Gold's kind of coming back to the high here. Silver looks great. It finally broke out. And it's getting kind of stuck up here around the $37 area. USDT, the dominance, this is what we want to crash, right? This is what we want to see go down. So I really don't have a comment on USDT. I mean, it's just kind of, I mean, you have bullish divergence too. You had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with bullish divergence here. So if this comes up in 3, that could be an A, or that could be a 1, and this could be a 2, and then we come down for 3. Alright, I think that's it. DXY still looks bearish, but I think it's coming to an end because you have bullish divergence on the weekly here. You have 5 waves down. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with bullish divergence. So I wouldn't be surprised if the dollar gets pops back up here, especially with the oil concerns with Iran and all that. We'll see how that affects things. There's just so many variables, it's kind of hard to figure. So you just gotta, to me, just look at the wave structure. So here's oil. Let's check it out. Yeah, so oil, you have this big impulse, and it looks like you have this three-way pullback. So, I mean, for all we know, it could just blow from here. So, anyways, the stock market, you're kind of stuck in the retrace levels. This is typically where people would get out, right, before a move down. You know, because is this going to be an A, B, C? I don't know. Or is this going to be a 1 and then you get a 2 and then continue up? SIA coin. Yeah, SIA coin should be at its last phase here. A, B, C, D, E. You know, you got a triangle here. So we just need that push. We need that big, big, big push coming. Monero. Not really clear on Monero. So anyways, guys, that shall do it for this video. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. If you want to hit that like, subscribe, drop a comment, let me know what you think. And I will catch you guys on the next one. I'm going to keep an eye on XRP on the smaller time frame. So anyways, guys, cheers.